Organized, worked hard, navigated our ship for 6 years through the inevitable ups and downs that we face in the NFL. Outstanding father and husband. And I think even you all who are around a lot probably underappreciate how much time we all spend together. And there's nothing more fun than winning an NFL game like we did the last 2 weeks, beating our arch rival, the Steelers, 2 weeks ago, and then winning yesterday on the last play of the game and seeing the joy in the locker room. And there's nothing more distasteful than losing an NFL game. And it's finite. You either win or you lose. And Kevin did a lot of good things here over his time period with us. It was an extremely difficult decision we made. And I shouldn't say I have no doubt, I would be highly optimistic that Kevin will be a head coach again in the league. Now I want to turn our attention and talk to our fans, okay? And I want you to hear this, okay? First of all, ownership takes full responsibility for where we are. To win 8 games in 2 years is horrible. It's totally unacceptable, okay? And it's not going to continue, okay? And I want the fans to know we are as frustrated as you are, and we hear a lot from our fans, which we actually appreciate. We have great fans. They're extremely passionate, and they deserve better than what they've gotten the last 2 years, okay?
The Cleveland Browns just dropped a bombshell that's sending shockwaves through the NFL, and what owner Jimmy Haslam revealed in his press conference today isn't just about firing Kevin Stefanski.
Our sole goal here is to be a consistent winner, not make the playoffs in 20 and then make it again in 23, not win 8 games in 2 years. That's not what we're trying to do. That's not acceptable. Our fans deserve better. We'll start the head coach search literally this afternoon. Andrew Berry will lead that effort. Key members of his organization as well as ownership will be involved in the process. You all have been through these processes before, and I think we have a good plan laid out. I want to comment on Andrew because I know there's questions out there, well, why didn't you change both of them? Or why didn't you change Andrew and not Kevin? And I would say this, I think Andrew, over the last year, has done a very good job. And I want to go through that because I think it's important to talk about the moves he made to strengthen our team, okay? I think it began with what I would call a very efficient free agency. We added one player, and that player...
This is about a complete organizational reset, a 120-day master plan, and potentially the biggest draft decision in franchise history. And at the center of it all, Colorado's Shedeur Sanders. What Haslam said, and more importantly what he didn't say, just changed everything for Browns fans who have been begging for a franchise quarterback. Let's break down exactly...
I want to go through that because I think it's important to talk about the moves he made to strengthen our team, okay? I think it began with what I would call a very efficient free agency. We added one player, and that player made a substantial difference in our football team, and that was Malik Collins. And Malik is not only a really good player, he's a really good person who was a leader on our defense, a leader in the defensive line room. Andrew negotiated a trade a week or two before the draft started, in which we added 3 draft picks, 2 last year, a second and a fourth or a fifth, and a first this year, okay? Then I think we had one of the better drafts that we've ever had.
What happened, and why this firing might be the first domino in bringing Shedeur Sanders to Cleveland. Jimmy Haslam didn't hold back. Standing at the podium, the Browns owner delivered one of the most candid assessments of his tenure, and the message was crystal clear. 8 wins in 2 years is unacceptable, the fans deserve better, and changes are coming immediately. But here's what grabbed everyone's attention. Haslam praised General Manager Andrew Berry extensively, highlighting his draft success, his trade acquisitions, and his ability to bring in really good players who are really good people. Meanwhile, when discussing Kevin Stefanski, the compliments were generic at best. Organized, hard worker, good father, nothing about offensive innovation, nothing about quarterback development, nothing about the future. That silence speaks volumes. Because if you read between the lines of what Haslam said today, this wasn't just about wins and losses. This was about a fundamental disagreement over the direction of the offense, and more specifically about how to handle the quarterback position moving forward. Haslam made it abundantly clear that Andrew Berry will lead the head coaching search, and that the next 120 days are crucial for finding the right leader, hitting on free agency and capitalizing on 10 draft picks including 2 first-rounders, 10 picks, 2 first-rounders, 4 selections in the top 3 rounds. That's not just draft capital, that's ammunition for a complete offensive overhaul. Let's examine Kevin Stefanski's 6-year tenure because the numbers tell a damning tale. In 2020,
I think we added 4 really good football players who were either first team all-rookie or second team all-rookie, and I think Carson has a really good chance to be the NFL Rookie of the Year, defensive Rookie of the Year. I think what's important to understand about our rookies, though, and you all see them, you all know them, they're not only really good players, they're really good people. And they will be the cornerstone with which we'll build and grow and develop this winning team. But I think it would be short-sighted to not just look at free agency, not just look at the draft, but also to look at a couple of other moves Andrew made. We have struggled to have a consistent place kicker here really the whole time we've earned the team. And I guess the way we started this year, you'd say, well, looks like you're continuing to struggle. Our grandsons were at the game, and we were coming back to Cleveland last night, and I said, Andre Schmidt is a great lesson of when you fail, pick yourself up, persevere, and good things will happen. And the signing of Andre and bringing him on, holding with him that first week when everybody was saying you need to cut him, you need a new kicker, I think we've hopefully solved our place-kicking woes for a long time.
Stefanski won Coach of the Year, led the Browns to the playoffs, and gave Cleveland hope for the first time in decades. Fast forward to 2024 and 2025, and the Browns managed just 8 wins combined over 2 seasons. 8 wins in 2 years. With a roster that Haslam himself admitted was good enough to win more games. So what changed? The constant variable in Cleveland's offensive struggles has been the quarterback carousel and Stefanski's inability to develop or maximize any signal caller he's worked with. Baker Mayfield regressed under Stefanski before finding success in Tampa Bay. Deshaun Watson has been a disaster, posting career-worst numbers and looking completely lost in Stefanski's system. Joe Flacco came in and momentarily revived the offense in 2023, only to be traded away in a move that Stefanski claimed he didn't even know about. Jameis Winston, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, P.J. Walker, the list goes on, and through it all the offensive rankings told the same depressing narrative: stagnant play calling, predictable schemes, an inability to adapt or evolve. When your owner goes...
Quality person, the team believes in him, and we're glad to have him. And then lastly, I think something that's underappreciated was the Tyson Campbell trade. Tyson is, here again, a really good player and a really good person. And I think all you need to know about Tyson is he has been playing with a bad shoulder for several weeks. We were unsure if he's going to be able to play, got hurt in the first half. He went in, got treatment, came back and tried to play in the second half of a game where we were trying to win our 5th game. It wasn't like we were trying to make the playoffs. I think this year we not only added, and I'm repeating myself on purpose, really good players, but also really good people. And I think that core that Andrew has put together this year will help move us forward. We hope to have similar results this coming year.
Goes out of his way to say there's a lot of work to do on the offensive side of the roster, while praising your defensive draft picks. That's not subtle. That's a public indictment. Now let's talk about the Deshaun Watson factor because Haslam didn't shy away from it. When asked directly about the impact of trading 3 first-round picks and 2 third-rounders for Watson, Haslam admitted it really depletes your ability to raise the roster. Translation: we mortgaged our future for a quarterback who hasn't delivered, and now we're paying the price. But here's the critical detail. When asked about the quarterback of the future, Haslam refused to commit to Watson. His exact words: "I'm not going to get into specifics." Not a vote of confidence, not a declaration that Watson is the guy, just deflection. And that deflection is precisely why Shedeur Sanders' name is dominating every Browns conversation right now. Andrew Barry survived this purge for a reason, and Haslam laid out exactly why. The 2024 draft class has been exceptional. Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate in 1 player. 4 rookies earning either first or second team all-rookie honors. The trade that netted 3 additional draft picks, including a 2025 first-rounder. The signing of Dustin Hopkins, who went from nearly being cut to becoming one of the league's most reliable kickers. The trade for Tyson Campbell, who played through injury in meaningless games, showing the kind of character Barry values. Haslam repeated the phrase, really good players and really good people, multiple times. That's not accidental phrasing, that's organizational philosophy. And here's where it gets interesting for Shedeur Sanders. Barry's draft philosophy emphasizes character, leadership, and high football IQ just as much as talent. Sound familiar? That's exactly how scouts describe Shedeur.
Yeah, let me just say this. One thing, Peter. The next 120 days are crucial for the organization, okay? We've got to find the right head coach. We've got to be efficient again in free agency. We have 10 draft picks, including 2 number ones. We have 4 picks in the top 3 rounds, okay? And we've got to get really good players who are really good people. Again, we've got to be opportunistic if trade opportunities come along. We are solely focused on having a great 120 days so we can start winning games around here. All right, I'll take questions.
The son of Deion Sanders has been praised throughout his college career not just for his arm talent and accuracy, but for his poise, his leadership, his work ethic, and his football intelligence. He's completed over 70% of his passes at Colorado, thrown for over 7,000 yards in 2 seasons, and done it behind offensive lines that gave him minimal protection. He's exactly the type of player Bari has built his reputation on identifying. The timing of this firing cannot be ignored. The Browns just won 2 straight games, including a dramatic last-second victory and a win over their arch-rival Steelers. Stefanski had momentum, the locker room was energized, and Haslam fired him anyway. Why? Because the 2025 NFL Draft is less than 4 months away and the Browns are currently positioned in the top 5 picks. If Cleveland wants Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward or any of the top quarterback prospects, they need a head coach in place who can evaluate, develop, and build an offense around that player. Stefanski's track record with quarterbacks made him a liability in that process, not an asset. Now let's address the elephant in the room. The narrative that's been building on social media and in Cleveland bars and message boards across the country. Did Kevin Stefanski sabotage the Browns' ability to properly evaluate and acquire Shedeur Sanders? The evidence is circumstantial but compelling. The Joe Flacco trade stands out as Exhibit A. The Browns were 4-1 last season with Flacco under center. The veteran was playing inspired football, the offense had rhythm, and Cleveland looked like a playoff contender. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Bari traded Flacco to Indianapolis. Stefanski's response when asked about it: he didn't know it was happening. The head coach of an NFL team didn't know his starting quarterback was being traded. That revelation sparked immediate questions about the Bari-Stefanski relationship. Haslam addressed it directly today, getting defensive when reporters suggested dysfunction. He insisted the two worked closely, that their offices are next door to each other, that anyone saying otherwise is dead wrong. But if the relationship was so strong, why would Bari make a quarterback move without consulting his head coach? And why would Haslam feel the need to so aggressively defend their working relationship if there wasn't smoke around that fire? The truth likely lies somewhere in the middle. Bari and Stefanski probably communicated regularly, but they clearly weren't aligned on the most important question facing the franchise: how to solve the quarterback problem. Haslam's criteria for the next head coach reveal everything about where this organization is heading. Leadership, high IQ, high EQ, football acumen, and this is critical: no bias toward offense or defense. That last point is fascinating because it means Haslam and Bari aren't locked into any particular coaching tree or philosophy. They're open to anyone who can lead and develop players. But given the offensive struggles and the quarterback situation, the smart money is on Cleveland targeting an offensive-minded coach with a track record of developing quarterbacks. Someone who can walk into the building, evaluate the QB room, and tell Bari definitively whether to draft Shedeur, trade for a veteran, or try to salvage Watson. The 120-day declaration from Haslam is the most important timeline Browns fans need to circle. Free agency begins in March. The draft is in late April. Between now and then, Cleveland needs to hire a head coach, likely hire a new offensive coordinator, evaluate their entire offensive roster, make strategic free agency signings, and execute a draft plan with 10 picks including premium selections. That's a massive undertaking under any circumstances. But when you're trying to simultaneously rebuild an offense, solve a multi-year quarterback crisis, and restore credibility with a fanbase that's endured decades of disappointment, 120 days isn't much time at all. Social media reaction to the Stefanski firing has been predictably divided. One camp of Browns fans is celebrating, arguing that Stefanski's offensive conservatism and quarterback mismanagement made him a roadblock to progress. These fans are posting Shedeur Sanders highlight reels, photoshopping him in Browns uniforms, and manifesting a future where Cleveland finally has a franchise quarterback. The other camp is more skeptical, pointing out that Haslam's ownership tenure has been marked by constant coaching changes, impulsive decisions, and very little sustained success. They're worried this is just another reset in an endless cycle of resets, and that no coach can succeed when ownership keeps moving the goalposts. National media analysts are equally split. Some praise the Browns for recognizing the offense had stagnated and making a tough decision despite recent wins. Others question the timing, point out the Deshaun Watson contract makes any quarterback change financially complicated, and wonder if Andrew Bari deserves just as much scrutiny for the roster construction. The Watson contract is indeed the elephant in the room. Cleveland owes him fully guaranteed money through 2026. Even if they draft Shedeur Sanders, they'd be paying 2 quarterbacks massive money while likely benching the one making $46 million per year. That's not ideal roster management, but when you're winning 8 games in 2 years, ideal went out the window a long time ago. Let's talk about what a Shedeur Sanders draft pick would actually mean for Cleveland. First, it would signal a complete philosophical shift. The Browns would be betting on youth, development, and building an offense around a quarterback with superstar potential rather than trying to patch things together with veterans. Second, it would likely mean Deshaun Watson either gets benched, traded if possible, or released with a massive dead cap hit. Third, it would put enormous pressure on the new head coach to accelerate Sanders' development and start winning immediately. Cleveland fans won't tolerate another multi-year rebuild. They want results now. Deion Sanders, Shedeur's father and current Colorado head coach, has been coy about his son's NFL future, but has made it clear he wants Shedeur in the right situation with the right organization. Would he consider Cleveland the right fit? That depends entirely on who the Browns hire as head coach and what their offensive vision looks like. If Cleveland brings in a young, innovative offensive mind who can build a modern passing attack, pair Shedeur with weapons through free agency and the draft, and provide legitimate offensive line protection, the pitch becomes compelling. If they hire another retread with an outdated system, Deion might steer Shedeur toward requesting not to be drafted by Cleveland. The comparison to other recent franchise quarterback resets is instructive. Look at Houston, who took C.J. Stroud second overall in 2023 after bottoming out. Stroud immediately transformed the offense, led the Texans to the playoffs, and gave the entire organization new life. Washington did something similar with Jaden Daniels in 2024. The right quarterback can change everything almost overnight. But the wrong quarterback, or the right quarterback in the wrong system with the wrong coach, sets you back years. Cleveland has experienced both sides of that equation, and Haslam's comments today suggest he understands the stakes. Andrew Barry's draft track record provides some optimism. His 2024 class looks exceptional. His ability to identify defensive talent has been consistently strong, but his offensive drafting and quarterback evaluation remain question marks. He was part of the front office that drafted Baker Mayfield first overall. And while Baker had moments, he ultimately didn't work out in Cleveland. Barry was also instrumental in the Deshaun Watson trade, which has been an unmitigated disaster. So when it comes to the most important decision the Browns will make in the next 120 days, whether to draft Shedeur Sanders or pursue another direction at quarterback, Barry's track record is decidedly mixed. The next few weeks will reveal everything. Who does Cleveland interview for head coach? Do they target offensive minds like Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick, or Cliff Kingsbury? Do they consider defensive coaches who would need strong offensive coordinators? How do they balance short-term competitiveness with long-term development? And most importantly, do they have the conviction to make a bold move at quarterback even if it means admitting the Watson trade was a catastrophic mistake? Jimmy Haslam's press conference today wasn't just about Kevin Stefanski. It was about ownership finally acknowledging that the current path isn't working, that the fans deserve better, and that painful decisions are necessary. Haslam talked about accountability, about the finite nature of wins and losses, about the unacceptable state of the franchise. Those aren't empty words anymore. He attached a specific timeline, 120 days, and put Andrew Barry in charge of executing the most critical coaching search in recent Browns history. The Shedeur Sanders connection isn't speculation anymore. It's a legitimate possibility that makes too much sense to ignore. Cleveland needs a quarterback. They have the draft capital to get one. They're hiring a new head coach who can build an offense around a young signal caller. And Shedeur represents exactly the type of high character, high IQ player that Andrew Barry has built his philosophy around. Whether it actually happens depends on how the next 4 months unfold, but the pieces are aligning in a way they haven't in decades. Here's the bottom line. Kevin Stefanski is gone because his offense failed, because his quarterback development failed, and because Jimmy Haslam decided that continuing down the same path would produce the same disappointing results. Andrew Barry survived because his drafting has been strong, his talent evaluation has been solid, and Haslam believes he's the right person to lead this rebuild. The next 120 days will determine whether Cleveland finally ends their quarterback nightmare or extends it into another lost decade. Shedeur Sanders represents hope, potential, and a clean slate. Whether the Browns have the courage to take that swing, we're about to find out. Drop your comments below. Do you think the Browns should draft Shedeur Sanders? Who should they hire as head coach? Can Jimmy Haslam actually deliver on his promise to give fans a better product, or is this just another cycle in Cleveland's endless football misery? Let me know what you think and make sure you're subscribed because the next few months are going to be absolutely crucial for the future of this franchise. The circus is over. Now it's time for real football decisions.